Yeah, buddy, it's that time. Mike McFarland here, giving you the Lake Fork Daily Rundown for February 17th and 18th. I did fish yesterday, and to be honest with you, things are starting out a bit slow. So that's why I didn't give you a rundown yesterday. I'll kind of compile them until it really get our hands around the fish. Basically, here's the rundown. We had all that flood and rain. The lake hit full pool. It actually went a little bit over full pool. 403.3 something. I think it might even, it's about 3-4 inches over pool. They opened gates. It maintained with 4 gates open. Over pool just a little bit. They left those gates open until noon yesterday. As of noon yesterday, the lake was at 402.86. It's just a few inches under full pool. Today, the lake level 402.82. Stabilized. Had a little bit of rain this afternoon. I don't think it's anything. I know they won't open the gates up with it. In fact, it might even, if it brought anything up because the ground's so wet, it ain't gonna make it much of a difference. It's actually good. We got water falls, pulls fish out. Rising water rises fish. So at least you gotta understand this kind of like a Texas two-step right here. Between warm trends and cool trends, it's a real funky zigzag. The backwaters, I saw backwater temperatures yesterday of, believe it or not, 58 degrees. I thought it was going to go down. We struggled. The gates were open. I didn't know that until about noon. Once the gates closed, that backwater changed. The afternoon bite was pretty fair for some of the guys that I heard in that shallow backwater. Shell bed stuff. Oh, man, it's on the brink. Today we visited some shell beds and had loons come visit. We had loons do what I've talked about in some of the past. Is shop the shell bed, meaning they come dive and explore the shell bed. They don't spend a lot of time. They don't stay. We don't see them come up with bait. I don't see them come up choking bait and flicking their tail like they're happy. They don't re-dive much, but they're coming there. Water temperature in the main lake, 51.9. As I've taught, 54 is the key. When the main body of the reservoir is in a stabilized 54 degrees, 55 degrees, and on the up and up from there, boy, does it start really going off. So in essence, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what we've been doing. 2 days of struggling. Today we pulled off because of thunder, lightning, and we went ahead and it was more about lessons today, learning about these shell beds, learning some of these sequential ABCD puzzle that you're putting together between the birds and the shell beds. And it got windy and whatnot. Guys were local, so I'm gonna have them come back for the other half another day. But we went ahead and stopped. It didn't get rained on. We were not out there in the thunder and lightning this afternoon. It's pretty cool. Here's what I'm doing. When it's really cold, cold trending, water's back down cold in the backwaters. For shallow backwaters, when it's cold, it's a rattle trap. We talked about all this before. I really like just a simple red, like a chili bowl red, Strike King chili bowl red, or these days I'm throwing green tomato. I really like this green tomato. A little bit of basically chartreuse bottom on it. It seems to be more of my favorite. In fact, in that cold water, I'm also throwing the square bill. So on the cold trends, I tend to be with a rattle trap for sure, and the square bill. Strike King square bill, 6-cent square bill. Again, for me, this is a Strike King square bill in the green tomato. This is a 2.5. Before all the rains and floods, I caught some fish on that. You saw one on camera. The floods were good, brought the lake back up. Here's the best part. It wasn't violent, so it didn't make anything muddy. Lake is not muddy. It's actually, in those backwaters, look beautiful. I hope we don't have any major violent floods. And boy, does that make a big difference in those backwaters. Anyways, on to the next. As the water warm trends, backwaters now, shallow, I jump up to the Chatterbait. Nothing better than the jackhammer. I'm telling you, there's a few times that I do want some other Chatterbaits because they have a wider wobble, just like the crankbaits. The difference between the Evergreen and say, another brand that has a split ring, for example. Evergreen has no split ring. Split ring will really have a nice wide swag. You can really, really slow that tight down and it'll swag hard, where the Evergreen's tighter and faster. You can slow it down, it still goes, but it's tighter and faster. So I'm throwing the tight, fast ones, the Evergreen jackhammers, no brainer. Warm trending, that's warm trending, remember? Warm trending backwards, backwaters, all the way up till it gets to 60 degrees, the underspin, the little owner underspin. This kills them back there. Now, what you're going to experience is a lot of bucks. You're going to have them buck bass first. Remember, we're going to get to talking as this hose starts to go down. Once I find an area that's got some bucks and I start catching bucks, I can turn right back around, retrace my steps in that creek and in the coming process and find those females. It gets a little easier once you find some bucks. Then again, let's go ahead and show you the shell beds. We're going to be doing this soon. As soon as it comes together, this will be how I take them. When the main lake hits 54 degrees, then gizzard shad will pull up on them shallow shell beds, and I'll be throwing the impact shad, the big one, the big 7-inch impact shad. I usually like the watermelon magic, or I think it's green pumpkin magic. And when the sun's shining, sometimes green pumpkin magic red. I go about 4 feet minimum on my leader, and believe it or not, I'm fishing that in real shallow water, real shallow water. Putting the boat to 6 with power pulls and throwing to 0. Yes, I'm throwing a ball and chain in 1 foot of water. Why would I do that? It's a shallow shell bed. That's where the gizzard shad spawn. In essence, I like those wind-blown ones. I talk about all this all the time. I want them being rough. Not too rough, but I do like them rough. And what that is I'm putting a weightless presentation that's floating around up in that nasty stuff. I can't do it with a weightless fluke all by itself because it's usually too windy, too rough. It's just not going to work. The old ball and chain gets it up there and keeps it contacted in the area. God only knows what it's doing in the current and whatnot. And then, of course, I fish it like a jerkbait. I do not drag the ball and chain. I fish it like a jerkbait. That's what it really does for me when I have a fish pattern behind it. Drag it when you got a worm and a Carolina rig. Carolina rig, drag it when you got a worm, drag it when you got a brush hog. You got a fish back there, snap that thing, watch what it does for you. Final choice, Santone football jigs. I'm not throwing this time of year. I get off the football jig. Usually I'm going to get into shallower water. I'm going to get around some wood, and I definitely get in the creeks and in the creek bends. And so I go to the Rattling Jig. This is a 1/2 ounce JC Craw, spicy craw with a green pumpkin Strike King Rage craw trailer. And I'll fish this a little bit. I will throw it in a shell bed, but again, more of a cold factor for me. I'll throw the same jig in a black and blue, and I like to get it in the roots. I like to get it in the wood, and that's why I do not use the football this time of year. All right, guys, that's the rundown. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm on the water every single day, unless it's life-threatening, dangerous tornadoes and lightning. We're not pulling out. We'll fish through the rain. We'll take the zeros and we'll take the heroes because we're going to have some of both. So a little later in the season, we'll kind of be more about trying to catch numbers and things. But right now, we're trying to catch a giant. Thanks for watching. I'm Michael McFarland, the Lake Fork Guide. Wishing you all great fishing.